Good morning from New York City, but for those of you in other time zones, good afternoon or good evening. I am Sylvia Polo, the Dean of the LL.M program, and I am so happy to welcome you to today's webinar and to virtually welcome you to the law school. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that we're still waiting for some people to join us, so I'll cover a couple of basics, give them a chance to log on. I know you can't see much of where I am, but I am in one of the main law school classrooms. Many of you, if not all of you, will be taking classes here. It's a recently remodeled classroom with new seating and carpeting and everything. So hopefully it will be comfortable for you when you get here. And we are recovering from a wonderful weekend. We were continuing to celebrate the 4th, barbecues all weekend. Of course, yesterday we celebrated the victory of the American soccer team. It was a great game, and I was not relaxed until the second goal, but the Dutch team was amazing, so that was a great match. And for those of you who are fans of El Tri, felicidades, congratulations on your 1-0 victory over the US team. At the beginning of the match here, they said that all Americans know 2 words in Spanish, dos and cero, because last time you beat the US 2-0, now you have a third word, 1-0, so 2-1 y 0. Next time we're coming for you. Anyway, I hope everybody had a good weekend. Let's see, I think before I start, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 2 of my fabulous teammates to come forward and introduce themselves, and then we will get started, and hopefully by then some more of your classmates will have joined. I'm going to step aside to give them a chance to say hello. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. We've been instructed to use the mic. Oh, and move. There we go. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Marissa Zalk. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Graduate Legal Studies at Columbia.
And I'm Allison Sherwin. I'm another one of the Associate Directors. Actually, it's both of us. Welcome. We're so excited to meet everybody come August.
Yep. And our third colleague, Jill Casal, is not here, but she sends her best regards and well wishes from Maine, where she is at the moment. But enjoy the webinar. We will be receiving your questions if you submit them. Just one small note is that we have asked you to read the pre-registration guide that we circulated a couple weeks ago. If you do ask a question that's answered in there, we simply can't answer it because we're receiving so many questions that we want to get through and answer. So if you do happen to ask one that's already covered, we'll just redirect you back there. That's not just in the interest of time. So thanks for your patience, and we look forward to meeting you soon.
Excellent. Okay, it looks like we've been joined by more folks, so we're going to go on ahead and get started. So the purpose of today is just to share a little bit more information with you about this thing called pre-registration or course selection and help you collect your thoughts. A couple of things. If I'm speaking too fast, send an email because Marissa will slow me down. She'll slow me down even if you don't send an email. But if I'm speaking too fast, do tell me. And if I explain something or unexplained because I make it more confusing, also scream and I will try to go over it again. Okay, so you know, the task ahead of you can be a lot of fun. It can be a little bit daunting, but it doesn't have to be. We really should focus on the fun part of selecting classes. And you have a lot of tools at your disposal. So we're going to go over some of them today. But just in case you're confused about pre-registration and exactly what it means, all it means is you listing in the order of priority the courses that you want to take so that we can get as many students as possible into as many of the classes that they want to take. Okay, a couple of first basic points. We have a saying that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Sometimes incoming students think that the only way they can learn a certain skill is by taking one class. There are many classes that will teach you similar skills from which you will gain the same benefits. So think expansively. Don't think that there's that one class that you have to take, otherwise the LL.M is for naught. And you have lots and lots of resources at your disposal, and we're going to go over some of them. But before I talk about the resources for pre-registration, we have been getting a lot of emails from people saying, oh, either asking questions about immigration or immunizations, for example, and asking us to send you their contact numbers. You have all that information. We've sent it to you in the admitted student book. It's on the admitted student website and it's on the Columbia website. Instead of asking us to send you the info, please, please, please use those resources. We may send you the wrong one because we think you have one question, but you really have another one. It's much better if you just go on the website directly and figure out who you're trying to contact. And please understand that when it comes to immigration and immunization in particular, we have not little to no say. We have absolutely no say. There's nothing we can do about immigration rules and nothing that we can do about immunization rules. So if you're unsure, just go directly to those offices. Okay, if you have participated in any kind of information session with us, either a webinar or online, some of what I'm about to say will be repetitive, but it bears repeating. The LL.M is an experience. It is a wonderful, wonderful year and a great opportunity for you to grow in so many ways. The LL.M should not be about you coming to take classes only about that area of law that you practice in. It should be about learning about new areas, new topics. What is this whole thing about law and technology? Maybe you don't think you're going to use that in practice, but you'd like to learn a little bit more. Maybe you're a corporate lawyer, but you have an interest in constitutional law. Maybe you're a human rights lawyer, but you want to learn a little bit more about tax. Whatever it is that you do, you should be thinking of this as an opportunity to expand your horizons and learn new things. So you will hear from us time and time again. Be flexible, try new things. Don't just stick to the things that you are doing in terms of your practice. Take a class because you've heard amazing things about the professor. Why not? Every class will teach you something that is useful. Take a class because former LLMs have told you it's a great class, or because you want to meet people who are doing something different than you are. Okay, I think the message is think big. The other thing is that preparing for classes here and participating in class is going to be very different from what most of you have done before coming to Columbia. Not everybody, but there's a lot of work that you have to do to prepare for class. And then you're expected to participate in class and then some work to do after class. So another one of our mantras is don't try to do too much. I've said that in an email that I sent earlier, but we are going to push that point. You want time to participate in extracurricular activities, to work with faculty outside of the classroom, to enjoy your new classmates, and just to enjoy New York, and to take some time to yourself to relax and shut off the noise and just take a deep breath and enjoy. Okay, with those guiding principles, let's talk about some of the tools that you have. First, of course, the guide that we sent you. We know that there is a lot of information on there. That's why we sent it to you early, so you will have plenty of time to read it and reread it, read it in chunks. That really has most of the information that you will need. My Columbia LL.M, the questionnaire that we sent you a couple of weeks ago, we said you don't have to share that with us, and you don't, but we urge all of you to complete it. It really is worthwhile to spend some time thinking about what this adventure is for you and what you want to get out of it. Again, not just in those classes that are in your area of law, but the experience as a whole. Last year, we heard from a number of students who every 2 or 3 months would go back to it to readjust. Maybe they had already met one of their goals or had readjusted their goals, and that it was really helpful to help them sort of organize their year. So we urge you to complete that if you haven't. You've gotten lots of newsletters and blogs from us. Those have hints about great classes, articles that are very topical about exciting work that faculty are doing. Go back and refer them. The law school website, the front page has lots of articles. Go back and look at this. That'll give you an idea about faculty. Okay, the curriculum schedule, the online curriculum guide. That is the most up-to-date document that we have. I can't even count the number of emails asking, is this class going to be offered? Is that class going to be offered? We are not going to answer those, because the answer is you have to go back to the online curriculum guide. That lists every class that has been scheduled as of today. If there are any changes, you will be told. You will get an email from Registration Services and possibly an email from us. And maybe here I'll tell you what Registration Services is, because it's a really, really important office that is staffed with really excellent people. Registration Services runs the curriculum, exams, transcripts, and all that. They schedule all the classes according to faculty preferences. They schedule classrooms. They figure out exam schedules. They run the course lottery. And they administer exams. So if there is an addition to the course schedule or a class is eliminated, they will email you. They will also post it on their website, and we will send information to you and we'll post it on our student website. So hopefully we won't get more emails from you about is such and such a class being offered because we don't know. If it's not on there, we simply don't know. The moment we know, we will let you know. Course descriptions are really important. They will give you information about the course content and how the course is going to be graded. Don't go on the basis of course names alone, because there could be 2 or 3 courses with very similar names that cover different material. You can access course descriptions through LawNet. Faculty bios, read them. They will not only tell you about their background, but they'll tell you about their current research and their current interests, and that could make a difference for you. Maybe you want to take corporations. It's being offered, I think we have 5 different sections this year, and you might find that the current research one professor is doing is much more interesting to you than another, and so you may decide that you want to try to take it with that professor. Course evaluations, which you get through LawNet, are important. They're helpful, but please, please, please read the guide that we sent, the limitations on course descriptions. Everything okay so far? Okay, good. The document that explains how the lotteries run, if we have time at the end, I'll go through it very, very quickly, but it's explained on there and it's pretty clear. And then for those of you who are planning on taking the New York bar exam, who need the LLM in order to qualify, obviously you'll want to read the rules on the Board of Law Examiners website, and you'll want to become familiar with our list of courses that the Court of Appeals has approved in order to meet the requirements of the bar exam. Let me just say one thing. Our most recent list, our most up-to-date list is dated August 2017. That is the full list of courses the court has approved. It doesn't mean that every course is being offered this year. So you will see courses on that list that are not being offered. That's because these are 2 totally different lists. So one is every course that has been approved, and the other is the courses that are being offered this year. Why do we include all the courses? Because there may be an addition later and we don't want to have to update everything. So somebody wrote and said, well, I've got the, I think, June 2017 list, the August 2017 list. They're not the same, of course. They're not. The 2017 is updated, so use that one. Okay, those are the main tools that you have. Of course, another big tool that you have is graduate legal studies, but hopefully you will use all of these tools before you come to us. But we are happy to answer your questions, of course, if they are not answered through these tools that we've talked about. Okay, a couple of general points. You are not guaranteed to get into any class other than Introduction to American Law and Legal Research and Writing. Why? Because it's supply and demand, and for many, many courses, demand is much greater than supply. But as I said at the beginning, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so even if you don't get into one class, we can help you find another class we'll give you the same benefit. This means, however, that if there is a class that you absolutely must take because it's what you came here for, it's your boss is requiring it, your scholarship agency is requiring it, then you must list it number 1 in your pre-registration. We usually like to say to students to remember that this is your LLM, even if your employer has been really supportive and they've given you great advice. Please try to focus on what you think is going to make your LLM great. I think I just broke my pen. Does anybody have, oh, I got it. Focus on what it is that you want to accomplish. But if there is a class that you have to take because your employer is requiring it and you think that's the right thing to do, make sure you give it a high priority on your pre-registration. Even though you are now pre-registering for fall 2019, you obviously want to look at your spring 2020 courses to make sure that you don't miss a class that you want to take. Maybe there's a class in the spring that has a prerequisite that you have to take now, so you'll want to make sure you schedule that. Or there's a class that you absolutely want to take and you're assuming it's going to be offered in the spring. You don't register for it now, only to discover that it's not offered in the spring. So make sure that you are considering both things. In an email or a document that you got last week, it talked about exam schedules. You know, I know that some of you may want to look at the exam schedule. You're only here for a year. Try not to make your curricular decisions based on the exam schedule because you may miss out on some really good opportunities just because you don't want to be taking exams late into December. But if it's that important to you, obviously that's your decision. You will want to pre-register for 12 to 14 points. Obviously, as we've said a number of times, the credits that you're in for Introduction to American Law and Legal Research and Writing count towards your fall maximum. Although you can register and take up to 15 points, very few, if any of you, will actually take 15 points because that is a very, very heavy workload. But it is okay to pre-register for more points than you will end up taking. If you're thinking of opting out of IL and LRW, and I'll try to talk about that at the end, you absolutely should pre-register for about 15 points. But the goal is to end up with a schedule of about 12 or 13 points. If you're a graduate of a U.S. law school and to have a U.S. JD, you absolutely should be pre-registering for as many credits as you can, because you don't have the 4 credits of IL and LRW to buffer you. Now, if you are, this is primarily for common law grads who are coming in, they know they want to do a lot of writing, and you know you're going to do writing, you want to do some supervised research, you should still register for credits, because you might find a class that's really interesting. You can always drop things when you get here. Every year we get questions about, oh, can you tell me which are the easy and which are the hard classes? No, because what's easy for me may be hard for you. What's easy for you may be hard for me. It depends on our background, depends on our interest in the class, depends on the professor, the makeup of the class. I don't think anything is easy. I also don't think that, I think if you work hard, nothing is hard. I think they're all fair. Maybe some a little bit more fair than others, but we're not going to answer that, because that just there's no set way to answer that. You've heard about academic counseling in August. Do the best you can now. Don't fret. If we need to fix things, we'll fix things. By the way, before the lottery even gets run, we will look at everybody's pre-registration choices. If you made like a big mistake, we will contact you and we'll fix that, working with you. So try not to let this process, cause you to lose too much sleep. There's a process called add drop in early September, which is when you can make changes to your schedule. That's when classes have started, gives you a chance to visit classes. We don't need to talk about that today. A few of you asked us to send you sample schedules of students in the past. I think we have some on our admitted student website. You can look at those, but who cares? The reality is that we want to come up with the best schedule for each one of you. Again, as I just said, you have different interests, different backgrounds, different strengths, which is why you may discover you've come with your best friend to the LL.M. You've both asked us a question about the same class, and the answers we give you are completely different, because you have different goals, different backgrounds, and all that. So we're not going to send you sample schedules. You do the best you can. Look at the method of evaluation in the course description. I think for most of you, you don't want to end up having to write 4 or 5 papers, although some of our common law graduates will end up doing that because that's what they want to do. You also don't want to end up with 4 big exams. The ideal is to come up with a mix. But again, don't make your decisions based solely on that, unless you are a common law grad and are totally allergic to to exams and want to do nothing but write papers. Let's see, no auditing. Again, we had a couple questions. Can I sit in on a class that I didn't register for? No, you can't. The university does not permit auditing. Now, there are exceptions. If there's a class that 1 week is covering material that is really important to you, sometimes you can get permission to sit in like for a couple of classes, but not a whole semester. The truth is, you don't have time to audit. If you were to audit a class, you would be required to do all the work. If you're doing that, you may as well register for the class, and you don't have time. People have asked about the difference between colloquium, seminar, workshop, and lecture. So let me spend a couple of minutes with that. A lecture is what most of you are used to. It's what I'm doing right now. Professor stands in front of the class and talks to you, with the difference that there's a lot of back and forth between the professor and the student. So the professor doesn't just talk for 15 minutes nonstop the way I will today. There's a lot of conversation, but it's lecture, one professor, exam usually at the end. A seminar is a small, it's a small class, usually between 16 and 20 students, that takes a narrower view of a subject, maybe sort of takes a big topic and breaks down and just covers a smaller unit. It's very discussion based. Students, as in every class, are expected to have read before and come in to discuss. Sometimes students themselves will run the classes with the professor backing up. Sometimes the professors will have 2 or 3 students running the class, the discussion. And then typically at the end, instead of it being an exam, you write a research paper. Sometimes you have to do a presentation to the class about your research paper. Sometimes you just do the research paper. It's a great way to get to know a faculty member and to really focus deeply on a topic of interest. Everything okay so far? Okay, good. A workshop tends to be much more hands-on. It's experiential, where you're actually doing. So for example, negotiation workshop, which is one that many LLMs will take, you're learning how to negotiate. You're negotiating, and every week you are negotiating against one of your classmates, or negotiating with one of your classmates. I should not have said against. Or 2-on-2, you and a teammate are negotiating with 2 teammates, or 2 classmates, excuse me. Jill's workshop, where you actually negotiating and drafting documents. So workshop, also a very small group, tends to be in groups of 4 because sometimes you're divided in teams of 4 or teams of 2. So very, very hands-on in a way that seminars and lectures typically are not, although sometimes they are. And then colloquium is different. Colloquium is discussion-based. Usually what happens is a professor from somewhere in the world or somebody who's very knowledgeable about that area who is writing a paper on the subject will come to class, present their paper. You will have gotten the paper beforehand. You will have read it before. The professor or the writer comes and presents their paper, and then there's a discussion. You give them feedback. Often we hear from the professors that they changed the focus of their paper or changed one aspect of it based on the feedback that they got from the students. And then typically the week after or the week before, the class meets without the author to discuss the paper. I think we have International Criminal Law Colloquium this year. I think that's a pretty popular one. But anyway, that's one where outside speakers come in, and typically there's some sort of writing. It can either be reaction paper where you do a reaction to the papers that you've read, or a paper at the end. You'll have to read the course description. No matter which one of those you take, the credits count towards the 24 that you need for the degree, and they count towards the 24 that you need for the New York Bar. And then we had a couple questions about the J-term. If you take a J-term course, that is a 1-week program in January, those credits do not count towards the 11 that you need for the spring, but they also don't count towards the 15 maximum that you can take. So that's a bonus. It's a great way to take a class to experiment with a subject that you're not that familiar with, or you don't feel so comfortable with, and you want to see what it's all about. It's pass, fail. It is great. Okay, let me say a couple of things about journals because we've gotten some questions. We will send you all the instructions that you need in August, correct? In August about how to apply for journals. There was somebody who said, I know I get credits if I get on the journal. That's actually wrong. Serving as an editor or a member of a journal and you're an LM does not give you credit. If you write a paper, you can get some credits, but we'll talk about that separately because you're not actually getting credit for the paper for the journal. You get credit through a separate mechanism. It's a great extracurricular activity for some people, not so fun for others. How do you decide whether you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? If you're doing it because you love the teamwork aspect of it, you love researching, editing, great. It can be a lot of work, depends on which journal you're in and what's going to be required of you. And so you'll want to wait till we get the information in August to figure out whether it's right or not for you, and we can certainly help you make that decision. I usually say to graduates of common law programs, native English speakers, graduates of common law programs who've already been on journals, unless you absolutely love being on a journal, maybe that time is better spent doing something different. But we certainly have had some common law grads who've been on journals and have absolutely loved the experience. And then quickly on clinics and externships, we will very soon be sending you a list of clinics and externships that are open to LLMs for the fall term. And of course, that includes the Human Rights Clinic, which always reserves a lot of seats for LLMs. So don't worry about that. We will get you that information possibly tomorrow. Okay. In the guide, we talked about the LLM degree requirements. I'm not going to go over them. The only thing I want to mention in the LLM writing project, which we'll talk about either today or in August, and one of the questions we got, it said, I see that I can fulfill the LLM writing requirement in one negotiation workshop session. I don't remember whose it is. That is actually not correct. You cannot fulfill the LLM writing requirement in negotiation workshop. You can fulfill it with the professors from negotiation workshop by doing a writing project outside of the class. So don't misread that. The bottom line is don't assume that by taking by taking the negotiation workshop, you will have automatically fulfilled that requirement. Okay, again, I'm not going to go over the degree requirements because it's pretty clearly laid out in the materials that we've sent you and online. Quick point, if you have studied at a US law school, whether you graduated from the JD or you were there as an exchange student, you cannot repeat a class that you have already taken and gotten credit for. If you don't tell us and we discover this the day before the finals, you will be dropped out of that class because you can't repeat. So if you are thinking of registering for a class that sounds like a class that you already took, the best thing is to send me an email. You should write to your school and get a copy of the syllabus. It's pretty easy. I've never had a student who has not been able to get a copy of the syllabus or the course description. We can look at it. In some cases, you can repeat the course. It's easier to repeat when it's a really sort of specialized course that's moving really quickly. If you did a law and technology class 5 years ago, chances are that nowadays it's going to look really different. So you might be able to repeat that, but a very basic corporations or evidence class, for example, you will not be able to repeat. So just send me an email with the information and we'll deal with it. Okay. Really important to go through the list of courses that you do not pre-register for. And I use the word courses, I should have said offerings. Introduction to American Law, Legal Research and Writing, we put you in there automatically. Permission only courses, well, I'm not going to read them, but you've got the list. The other thing is ineligible courses. The law school started this year a compact executive LL.M program. It is a completely separate program. It's designed primarily for business lawyers who cannot take a year off to come do the LL.M. And so they do the LL.M partly online, and then they're here in the summer. They're here right now having a really good time, enjoying getting to know the faculty and enjoying the city. But you cannot take the courses that have been set up for them. This is especially important with contracts. They have a version of American contract law that they take in the spring. You will not be able to take that course. The LL.M degree requirements don't allow online courses. The bar doesn't, and we don't. So if you see courses on the course list that start with EL, just know that you are not eligible to take those. And please don't skip American contract law this semester, expecting to take it next semester, because that will not work out. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, a couple words about IAL and LRW. IAL finishes before classes finish. Legal Research and Writing continues for the semester. The information is available in the guide, so I'm not going to go over it. Prerequisites, important. There are some courses where the professors feel that in order for students to successfully participate in the class, they must have a specific background. And the prerequisites are listed on the course descriptions. Sometimes they're co-requisites, meaning you can take the other class at the same time, that's fine. Sometimes it's a prerequisite because you have to come into the class with that background knowledge. Obviously, you don't have, most of you will not have a record at Columbia. I think we have a couple people coming in who have been here, so you will have a record at Columbia. If you feel that you have the background, write to the professor and do it now. Email the professor, explain to them your background, academic background as well as professional background, and ask them to waive the prerequisite for you. Sometimes people say, oh, you know, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just take the class anyway. This is not meant to punish. We want you to be successful. So if you have to have a high level of math ability and math knowledge, walking into the class not having it is not going to be a good experience. So please be honest with yourself in terms of the background that the professor is asking for, and make sure that you have it so that you can enjoy the class. If you want to take Professor Coffey's Securities, he has corporations as a prerequisite, but he says that if you've done business law corporations at home, academically and professionally, that's fine. You don't need to write to him. He will waive that prerequisite. Okay, excuse me, 1 second. Permission only courses. There are some courses that professors decide who gets in based on the background of the students, because the professors are looking for a specific mix in the class of different backgrounds. It may be a class that brings in a couple of students from outside of the law school. All you have to do is write to the professor. In the course description, the professor will have listed the information that they want. Usually they'll want to see your resume, they'll want to know your background in that area of law and why you're interested in it. If you write to the professor and the professor accepts you into the class, you don't pre-register. Is that right? Do you pre-register for permission only? No, you don't pre-register for permission only. The registrar will register you. The professor will send an email to the registrar, and then you will be registered automatically, usually after pre-registration, so it won't block you from selecting, you know, a number, 12, 13 credits. Okay, if the professor's email address is not listed on our website because the professor is an adjunct, Google the professor. You guys are younger than most of us. Well, maybe not younger than Avery, Ben, and Megan, but certainly younger than I am. And so your Google skills are better than mine. So just Google the professor and you will be able to find the professor's email address. Okay, You're probably not young. Maybe. Yeah, we'll leave it at Avery, Ben, and Megan for now. Okay, there are some courses that are not open to LLM students because there is an assumption that the majority of you come from a civil law background or not a US law background, and therefore you don't have the background for it. But we know that's not always the case. If there is a class that says it is not open to LLM students and you're really, really interested in the class and you have the background for it, just write to the professor. Explain to them your interest in the class, you know, why you want to take it, what your background is that prepares you for the class, and then they will make the decision. And very often they do allow you to take it if they think you have the right background. First year courses, I think we've explained it pretty clearly. Generally, LLMs cannot take first year courses, which is why we have a contract law class, con law, and civil procedure separate for LLM students. Every once in a while, there is a compelling reason why a student should be allowed to take a 1L course. Email me per the instructions in the guide, and I will talk to the professors and see if we can get you in there. But that's rare. I think last year we had one student who took a 1L class. So it's pretty rare. It has to be a very good reason. Supervised research. You can, what is supervised research? Supervised research is when you do research on your own with the instruction of a professor or the supervision of a professor, meaning that you don't do it as part of a class. You have a topic of law that you're really interested in and you just want to spend time researching it. You want to produce a paper either to publish or just to learn. And that's what we call research for the LLM degree, or I'm going to call it supervised research. You can spend up to 8 of your credits for that. If you need the LLM to qualify for the bar, then you can't do that because those credits do not count for the bar. It is rare for somebody to use up 8 credits for supervised research. I think in the nearly 20 years that I've been at the law school, I think only 2 people have done it. Both have been US law grads who were going on the teaching market and who ended up doing the program part-time. They were able to for family care reasons and because there was no immigration problems. But you can do up to 8 points. Nothing to do right now. If there's a paper that you want to write, it'll probably be about 2 credits. The thing to do about that right now is just start thinking about what your topic is and maybe researching faculty biographies so you have an idea of 1 or 2 faculty members that you would like to approach about the paper. The reason not to email them now is that most of them are off doing whatever they do in the summer and they're not going to read your email. But come middle of August, you can go on ahead and email them. Some might reply to you immediately, some might not until late August or early September. But you know, perfect now to start thinking about what topic you might want to write about. Okay, by the way, you don't have to do supervised research. The majority of you will not do supervised research. The majority of you will do your writing within a seminar or some other class. Okay, negotiation workshop, as I said earlier, is a class that many of you will take. It is a fabulous class and one that if you are thinking about, you should take. A couple words of caution. Number one is if you are a little bit anxious about your speaking skills in English, you may be more comfortable waiting and taking it in the spring because you are going to be negotiating every week. And we've had some students say that to us in the past. I actually think that all of you are coming in with strong enough English to participate. And I think it's valuable for our native English speaking students to learn to negotiate with somebody who has a different native language, but it might be more comfortable for you. Completely your decision. Okay, I mentioned earlier that you don't fulfill the writing requirement in that class. The other thing is that the deadline to drop, not too important right now, but I want to mention it because I want it in there, is earlier than the deadline to drop further classes, and we'll talk about this later when you arrive in August. The process of pre-registering for negotiation workshop is different than the way you pre-register for classes. So the first step is you treat negotiation workshop as you do any class, and you rank it according to your interest. Once you input into the list negotiation workshop, a new window is going to pop up. That window allows you to, or actually makes you, prioritize the sections of negotiation workshop. Maybe you want to take it with a particular professor. I think they're all wonderful. If you don't have a preference because you haven't heard from anybody else about a professor, then don't worry about it, just rank them. I'm not going to suggest that you rank them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because if everybody does that, it's going to jam, it's going to create a log jam. Maybe you want to do it backwards, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, or do the numbers at random. They're all great professors, so if you don't know anything about any professor, don't worry about it. And my understanding is that once you rank the classes, and by the way, you may be required to rank them all, is that there will be a save button. So look for that. If there's a save button, go on ahead and save. And then when the lottery runs, it'll treat negotiation workshop as it does every class. And then as a second step, we'll put you in a separate, in an individual section. Okay, I'm going to leave professional responsibility for now, but I will come back to it. Okay, you are allowed to take up to 6 points of credit outside of the law school. What schools do our students take classes in? SIPA, the School of International Public Affairs. If you're a human rights lawyer or public international law lawyer, they have great offerings. They've got great offerings for those of you interested in environmental law, and I use that term broadly. The business school, of course, we have a lot of our corporate lawyers will take classes in the business school, journalism, to practice oral or written advocacy, Mailman School of Public Health. There are so many different choices, and you can take classes at any one of those schools. And if you want it to count towards the degree requirements, the class must be a graduate level class. And foreign language or English language classes do not count towards the degree requirements. It doesn't mean you can't take it. We have had many students who have taken advantage of the year here to learn a language outside of their law school curriculum. How do you register for these? The first step is you've got to go on the websites of the individual schools, look at their courses, and find out what their rules are. There may be some courses that are only open to their students. My understanding is that the law school is this, by the way, is called cross-registration, when you register for courses at a different division. My understanding is that we are switching up the process a little bit to make it a little bit easier. I don't have those instructions yet, but nothing happens until August. So what you should be doing now is starting to become familiar with those courses so that you can figure out whether you're interested in taking one of those courses. And then as soon as we have the instructions, we will send them to you. Couple of sort of cautionary notes. Everybody fantasizes, not everybody, our corporate lawyers fantasize about taking a class in the business school. It can be really exciting to take a class with sort of your client. If you became a lawyer because you are allergic to numbers, you cannot walk into the MBA program and take a corporate finance class. It is just not going to work out. We offer corporate finance here. You can take it here. It's a little bit gentler than the one in the business school. But the business school has a lot of wonderful courses that our students have taken in the past. Just be honest about your skills and your ability to take on some of the work that they're going to require. Some of the classes require really sophisticated Excel skills or spreadsheet skills or something else. So make sure that you are familiar with those. Okay, and we will send you specific instructions on cross-registration for the business school and other divisions. Same thing as for NYU law courses. We have an exchange program with NYU that allows X number of our students and X number of their students to take classes at the other division. But the classes that our students can take is limited to a list of classes that we exchange. So in August at some point, registration services will send you the list of NYU law classes that are available to Columbia Law School students. Don't ask us for the list, because I assure you that you will see it well before we do. It goes out to the students first, and then, wait, we've got to send it to the administrator. So we will get it at best at the same time you do, but chances are you will have it before we do. So same thing, there's some special business school classes that where the registration is done differently. You will get that list even before we do. The one thing to keep track of with the NYU law classes is that their semester starts before ours does. We start in September, they start August 28th. Why is that important? Because the 28th, 29th, and 30th, you will still be attending Introduction to American Law and Legal Research and Writing. Did we lose the volume? No? Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay. Time conflicts. You cannot register for 2 classes that meet at the same time. Why? Because to our knowledge, you still haven't mastered how to be in 2 places at once. And if you have, please share that talent with us. But if one class starts within 10 minutes of the end of the other, that's fine. The law school is a small place. You can easily get from one classroom to another in 10 minutes. So that's fine. Don't worry about that. Okay. Before I get to strategies, let's see. New York bar exam, I mentioned, make sure you become familiar with with the bar requirement. Okay, let's talk a little bit about strategies. So as I said at the beginning, for some classes, the demand far outstrips supply. Did I say that backwards earlier? I hope I didn't, but if I did, obviously demand exceeds supply. So when you are coming up with your list, be really honest and list courses in the order of interest to you. Some people who are really good mathematicians and are really good at data analytics or game theory will try to outsmart the system. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I don't think it's worth trying to figure it out. I think the best thing you can do is be honest and list the courses in order of importance to you, because your best chances of getting into a class are by listing it first. Now, that advice holds with two exceptions. One is if there's a class that you're not that interested in, but your employer or your scholarship agency is making you take, then you've got to list it number one. Because if you list it last, you don't get in, and you come to us and say, but I have to take it, too bad, because you've been warned. Put that one first. The other thing is that seminars and workshops are much smaller than lectures, right? Lectures are big rooms. You can have corporations with 120 students in the class, 85 students in the class. So if you're really, really interested in a particular seminar or workshop and a lecture, list the seminar or the workshop first and the other class second. A class like corporations that many of you will want to take, we're going to offer 5 different sections of it during the year. Every one of you will get into it. But if there's a particular professor you're interested in, then you might want to rank that one first. Okay, so the first thing is take your time, look through all the courses and do a list of the courses that you're interested in and rank them. And then put your seminars before your lecture courses. And again, obviously there's a course that you must take. When you are completing your course selection, you'll see that there are 2 columns. One is your primary course and the other one is an alternate. What this basically means is, look, the class I want to take is the seminar offered by Allison Sherwin. But if I can't get into her seminar, I'll happily take the one offered by Marissa Zalk. So you list Allison's seminar as your first primary and Marissa's as its alternate. Basically what you're saying to the system is, I want Allison's, but I'll take Marissa's if I don't get into Allison's. When the computer gets to you, it'll look at Allison's course. If there is a seat in Allison's course, it'll register you for it, and then it'll move on to your second choice. It'll ignore the alternate, because the alternate was just if you didn't get into Allison's course. If Allison's course is full, it'll register you for that course, for the wait list, excuse me, it'll put you on the wait list, and then we'll look at Marissa's course. If there is a seat in Marissa's course, it'll register you. So you'll be in your backup, your alternate class, but also on the waiting list of Allison's, because you're hoping that a seat will open up. That's sort of generally how that works. There are a couple of exceptions that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Here's the thing. If you listed Marissa's seminar as an alternate to Allison's, you cannot then place Marissa's course later on as a primary or an alternate. Every course can be listed only once. For courses where there's more than one section, for example, corporations, where we have, I think, 3 different professors offering it in the fall, each one of those sections is dealt with as a separate course. So you could list, again, we'll go to Professors Allison and Marissa. I want Allison's corporations. If I don't get in, I'll take Marissa's. If I don't get into that one, I'll take Jill's, because I just want corporations. You could list corporations with Allison as your primary, and then you could, as its alternate, you could put Marissa's, and then as your second primary, you could put Jill's. You could not put Marissa's more than once. Okay, are people screaming at me? No? Oh, good. Okay. You will never, by the way, be put on the waiting list of an alternate. So if in that first example where you had the seminar taught by Allison, it was full, the system put you on the waiting list and it looked at Marissa's was full because it was your alternate, you're not going to get on that waiting list because you're on the waiting list of Allison's course. Okay, we will at some point send you a list of historically oversubscribed courses. These are courses that were very popular. We on that list will only include lecture courses, because you should assume that all seminars are going to get full, and workshops, if you're interested in one of those, you have to treat them as very popular. The reason we're going to send you the others is if we have found a way to ensure that certain classes always have seats, then you won't have to list that so high up in your priority. A couple of years ago, the arbitration class taught by Professor Berman was always getting full and having a big wait list. We managed to switch that schedule around. I think in the last few years, everybody who's wanted to take it has gotten in. So if you're trying to get into that and evidence with Professor Schechtman, which always has a massive waiting list, then you might want to prioritize Professor Schechtman's evidence class. But we'll send you that at some point next week. The truth is that in the end, you should be listing the classes in the order in which you're interested in taking them. Okay, let's see. Different sections of a course. Oh, somebody asked, there are different sections of a course. Does that mean I attend all of them? No. If you take corporations with, who's teaching this in the fall? Goshen, maybe? Well, let's suppose with Professor Goshen, you only go to his classes. You don't also go to Professor Peastor's classes and whoever else is teaching it. So once you get into one, it's only those, but you go to every class that Professor Goshen offers. It's not that you have a choice of going, oh, do I go Tuesday or Thursday? You go to every class. In fact, let me make a note here. There was some question about what M, T, W, R, and F means in the course. M is Monday, T is Tuesday, W is Wednesday. If it says if R is Thursday and F is Friday. If it says MTW, it means the class meets Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If it says TR, it means Tuesday and Thursday. It's never or. Let me take 2 seconds, well, more than 2 seconds, to talk about class attendance. Class attendance is mandatory and it is expected here. That doesn't mean that if you get sick and you miss a couple classes, you're going to get kicked out. Everybody or somebody's going to get sick, and we understand that. But class only works if students prepare and participate in class, because class is meant to be a dialogue between the professor and the students, among the students, debates, presentations. It is not just a professor standing here and reading their notes. So we expect you to be in class. The bar, if you're taking the New York bar, expects you to be in class. If you miss too many classes, you could be kicked out of class or you could end up failing a class. So make sure that you attend class. If you are not a morning person, don't sign up for a class that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning if you're not going to make it, because you will be kicked out. Anything so far? Nope. Okay. Let's see. What else do I have here? Okay.
Sylvia,
yes.
Do you just want to answer how many classes someone can put in their pre-registration?
Perfect. Thank you. Yes. LLMs can list up to 6 classes. Now, if you are taking Introduction to American Law and Legal Research and Writing, you don't have to list that many. Chances are you're not going to take, no, not chances. You are definitely not going to take that many classes in addition to Introduction to American Law and Legal Research and Writing. However, if you are a graduate of a USJD program, you do want to list 6, even if you're going to do research. If you're from a common law country and you're pretty clear that you're going to opt out of Introduction to American Law, then you'll want to list 5 or 6 to make sure that you have choice, because you can always drop classes afterward. Okay, submitting your pre-registration. It is not first come, first serve. All of your pre-registrations will be processed at the same time. Once the system opens up, you can make as many changes as you want. As you go along, the system regularly saves your choices. So if you want to have fun and change it 10 times a day, that's fine. It saves it automatically at the end. It's not saves it, it submits it automatically at the end. There is no submit button. Once it's submitted at the close, which is I think on the 26th at noon, you no longer have access to your selections. So if you want to have access, make sure you print out your selections before the system closes. We will have access, but we will have limited access, and we're not going to be able to give you that information. So you won't have access to it until you come back. Professional responsibility. We have a brand new system for registering for professional responsibility. This is important for those of you who need the LLM in order to qualify for the New York Bar, or those of you who are interested in professional responsibility. I think it's a great class. I urge everybody to take it. You will decide whether you want to take it or not. There is a separate pre-registration for professional responsibility. It opens on July 10th, which is on Wednesday, and runs through the 17th. You will be required to go on there and rank every single professional responsibility class, and you can pre-register for a class either in the fall or in spring. I haven't seen the system yet because they're just putting the finishing touches on it, but I understand that it is very self-explanatory. This will not be complicated for you all. The only difference is that for this one, there is actually a save button. So after you have made your selections, make sure that you save. My understanding is you can go back in and make changes. If you are not sure, you need to email registration services because, as I said, it's a brand new system. We don't really know how it runs. But important, if you want to get into a professional responsibility class, you need to pre-register between July 10th and July 7th. That lottery will be run and you will be assigned a classroom, a professional responsibility class, and you will know by the 19th of July. That means that when you go to do your pre-registration for all your other classes, you will already know whether you are in a professional responsibility class or not. So if you registered, if you asked for a 3-credit class and you also take Introduction to American Law, that means you've already got 7 credits assigned to you. So again, if you need to take or want to take professional responsibility, that starts on Wednesday. That pre-registration runs through the 17th. If you miss that deadline, then when you get here in August, you can add into a class through the adjunct. But if you know you need PR, please, please, please participate in that pre-registration. Don't miss that deadline. And you'll want to look at the list of courses, PR courses that the bar has approved. Okay.
Going back to 1L or first year courses, can we just let everybody know how they would know a course is a 1L or first year course?
Yes. When you go on the online curriculum guide, if you click curriculum levels, foundation curriculum, that will pop up all of the first year courses. The other thing that you'll discover is that they're not available on LawNet for pre-registration. But the easiest way is to look at foundation curriculum, and that list pops up all the 1L classes. Other questions that I should be answering? Okay, so let me spend a couple of minutes talking about opting out. But even if you're not thinking about opting out, you might want to hang in here for a couple more minutes in case a good question comes up. Opting out. Who usually opts out? It's typically graduates of pure common law programs in English-speaking countries. That's the usual. Graduates of schools in Australia, New Zealand, folks who have done the 3-year LLB in the UK, folks from Canada who don't just have the civil law background. Why them? One, because they have they've got some pretty good familiarity with US law. They're of course very familiar with the common law methodology. They don't need the LL.M traditionally to qualify for the bar and therefore don't need IAL and LRW, and have done sufficient writing where the writing that they're going to do in legal research and writing isn't something that they're going to benefit from as much because they've done a lot of that kind of writing. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have graduates of pure civil law countries who opt out. It is completely up to you. But if you need the LL.M in order to qualify for the bar, you cannot opt out of the courses. The other thing is that you either opt out of both or you take both. You cannot opt out of one and not the other. Now, if you opt out of the courses, you can still audit Introduction to American Law. And we urge you to for a number of reasons. One, there's always something that you will learn. The instructors are wonderful. They have put together this course specifically with LL.Ms in mind. And there's a whole social aspect of being in the class, meeting your classmates and starting to form those friendships and those bonds. You cannot audit legal research and writing. It's a writing course. It doesn't make sense, but you can audit the research classes. I think there are 3 classes where they teach you about research, and you're welcome to visit those. You would just tell your instructor. The opt-out exam will probably be administered the Wednesday of orientation, which makes it the 14th of August. We'll give you more details then. You should not have to study for it. If you have to study for it, then you probably should not be opting out of it. It's an essay exam, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I don't think it's going to be 2 hours. We haven't written it yet, so I'm not really sure, but it is an essay exam. And again, if you need to be studying for it, you should probably be taking the class. And we will probably try to find a half hour on that Monday or Tuesday to get together and talk a little bit more about opting out in case you have any questions. But usually, as I said, it's not our civil law graduates who opt out of the class, or anybody who wants to do some writing and get some one-on-one feedback on their writing should be thinking about staying in that class. Most of the writing that you're doing it is not academic writing. It is practical writing. It is a brief It is a case brief, and the instructors, those are taught in small lectures of about 22 students, and this professor will meet with you one-on-one to critique your work and give you insight. The other great thing when you come is that we will talk to you a lot about resources that we have at the law school level and the university to help with your writing in case you need want additional help with writing. What else? What have I not talked about? Nothing? We're set? Okay, well, it looks like we've got 5 minutes, but if we are done, I'm going to wait for a few seconds just in case you have any questions. If not, then I will let you go to recess 5 minutes early. We've got one coming in.
Let's reiterate about the PR pre-registration is for both fall and spring.
Okay. Yep. So in fact, let me cover the PR pre-registration process again because it is new and I went over it pretty quickly. If you want to take professional responsibility or if you have to take it for the bar, the process of pre-registering for it runs from July 10th to July 17th. It is separate from the pre-registration that we have been talking about. You will go on there, you will rank the sections. I don't know if you have to rank them all, I'm not sure. You can select a class in the spring or a class in the fall, not both. Select the one that you want to take, put them in order, and then you save your selections. If there's a submit button, hit submit. I don't think so. I think it's just a save button. We will run the lottery on the 18th, and on the 19th, we will send you an email, not we, registration services or the law school, I'm not sure exactly who it'll come from, telling you what class you have gotten into. That's important so that you now know, oh, okay, I now know I'm going to be in pre-registration on Mondays and Wednesdays from 10 to 11. So as I'm doing the rest of my classes, I should not be registering for a class that conflicts because I won't be able to register. If you miss the deadline of the 17th, you can pick up a class when you arrive and we start ad drop in September or August. I'm not sure exactly when that will open up. But if you think you need to or want to take professional responsibility, please, please, please don't miss this window, and you can choose a fall or a spring semester class, not both. You can only register for once, and then you will actually be registered for that class. A couple of people have written about constraints with being in class late on Fridays. We got it, no worries, we've got that.
What do students do if they want to know if their first law degree is considered a common law degree by the bar?
You have to write to the bar. While we have some information from over the years, the truth is that sometimes there are changes that we don't know about. So if you're not sure whether your first law degree is considered common law, whether you need the LL.M for the bar or not, you need to write to the Board of Law Examiners, and you want to do that as soon as possible. If not, go on ahead and send all your documentation in for a foreign credentials evaluation, which you'll need to do at some point anyway. It doesn't cost anything, I believe. And so you want to go on ahead and do that, but then you'll want to talk to them. Here's the thing. You can reach the folks from the Board of Law Examiners by telephone, but we are, let's see, today's the 8th. We are about 3 weeks away from the bar exam. This is the busiest period for the Board of Law Examiners, so you have to be very patient. You can email them, you can call them. I always say, be kind to whoever answers the phone. We have another saying, which is you catch a lot more flies with honey than with vinegar. They are extremely overworked and stressed out right now. It is not a fun job that they have, and you are more apt to get good results if you are patient with them. Ask them the question. If at first the answer they give you doesn't sound right, ask them again, maybe explain to them what doesn't make sense. But you know, don't scream at them because that's not going to get you anything and it's not fair to them. But you may have to just sit with a cup of coffee, glass of Coke or whatever it is that you like to drink, and be patient and call until you get through.
When will students find out their exact class schedules?
Perfect. So you will get the results of the lottery Tuesday, August 13th. We do it then because we want Monday, August 12th, which is the first day of orientation, to be all about becoming familiar with the law school, getting to know each other, not worried about what classes you're in. Tuesday morning when we meet, we want you focused on us and all of the information we'll be sharing with you. And then at lunch break on Tuesday, we will release the schedules, and then we'll start working on making whatever changes need to be made. That's not going to be your final schedule. That will be the results of the lottery. Your final schedule won't be available until the end of September, but at that point you are working on it. You will meet with Allison, Marissa, Jill, or me in August to go over your selections and make some plans for making changes. But that will happen later. Signing up for those appointments will happen once you're here. No need to worry about that. There will be sufficient slots for every one of you to meet with us. In fact, all of you are required to have at least one meeting with us. So don't worry about that for now. Just enjoy, choosing your classes. Okay, so I think that we are done. I do want to read it. Don't let this overwhelm you. Sometimes people start just sort of doubting themselves. Don't just focus on the classes. Enjoy thinking about all of the classes that you're going to be able to take. One of the things that sometimes happens is that students get nervous and start doubting themselves. So we'll get emails that say, the guide says that I have to do A and B. Does that mean I have to do A and B? Yes, if the guide says you have to do A and B, you have to do A and B. Don't doubt yourselves. Trust yourselves. Read it. Read the guide, read the information, and do the best you can. We can fix things. If you make a big mistake in the pre-registration, we will fix it before we run the lottery. If not, we'll fix it once you're here. Enjoy it. Don't fret too much, okay? Listen, I wish all of you a wonderful rest of the summer. We will continue to send you the To-Do Tuesdays, and in between, anything that comes up that has to do with registration, we send off of Tuesdays. Our apologies for that, but once this is over, we will leave the other days alone and focus on just sending you materials on Tuesdays. Hope that has helped you get organized. Hope that you're enjoying the newsletter and the blog, and that those are giving you great ideas about all the great things that you'll want to do when you join us in, gosh, just a little bit over a month. So have fun. We will be at different times going on vacation to recharge our batteries. We will let you know ahead of time. Unless you have an emergency, if you can resist emailing us over the weekends, please do that. We are not very good about ignoring emails over the weekend, even though we really need to, because we need to get ready so that we can have a lot of energy and a lot of fun to welcome you in August, and we certainly look forward to it. So happy summer, and we will be in touch. Thanks for joining us. Bye.